determined, very good fighter. How did this fight to you stack up against the first two against Tim Bradley?
This fight is different than the last two fights that we have because I'm aggressive this time and then careful. At the same time, careful, not too careless.
After the Mayweather fight almost a year ago, where there wasn't a lot of action, do you feel that this is more like the kind of Manny Pacquiao product that people expect?
I believe so. And I hope that I gave them a good fight and I entertained them.
You scored 2 knockdowns in this fight. How are you able to do that against a guy that you hadn't been able to hurt like that in the first 2 fights?
Well, every round I'm looking for a knockout, but you know, Bradley is a very good boxer and tough boxer, so he deserves it.
Did your right shoulder bother you at any point in this fight? It looked to us like you were shaking it out.
No, actually, I'm waiting for the counter of hook, but he knows that I'm going to counter hook, so that's why he's doing a counter punch also.
Manny, ringside we were talking about how good a fight Tim was fighting, and yet it still didn't matter. You were able to overwhelm him at times, and we were wondering, how can a guy who's still able to do that against an opponent as good as this walk away from the sport when it seems like you still like to fight?
Well, I have a commitment in my family that this is I'm going to retire after this, and then you know, we don't know. If you ask me about you know, if I'm coming back, but you know, me, I enjoy by being a retired man and then serve the people, help the people.
Talking to Freddie about a month ago, he mentioned he'd like to see you fight Canelo Alvarez and then Floyd Mayweather in the future. When you hear stuff like that, what do you think?
That's what I love, the fans. Every time I hear that.
Manny, if this is it, is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Thank you to all the fans in boxing, especially to the Filipino people. I really appreciate all your help and support this in boxing industry, and to all the boxers. It's not only me, but all the boxers, all the fighters. Thank you, boxing fans.
Forgive me if we're a little bit skeptical that this is in fact it, but if it is, it's been incredible watching one of the greatest fighters who's ever lived through the years. Thanks, Manny.
Bradley is a good boxer. He's a best fighter also, and he's a champion. He's a man. So you know, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy tonight.
Thanks, Manny.
Thanks, Manny. Thank you. Tomorrow,
What time?
I think I'll leave in the morning time.
Oh, I thought
Wait,
I'm leaving in the afternoon.
What time?
11 o'clock.
What room?
You guys having breakfast tomorrow? Were you making plans?
Huh? Okay, at the Mandalay? What time?
11 o'clock.
Okay. All right.
Tell us the restaurant. We can all show up, guys.
They're eating breakfast tomorrow.
Excuse me, guys. Tim, let me ask you about the fight. You guys apparently will have time to talk tomorrow morning. You seem so prepared, and you fought such a good fight, and yet there was Manny Pacquiao having you on the deck twice. What happened?
I don't even remember, man. I really don't, man. I really don't remember.
I hate to say it, but we got the replay if you want to be reminded.
All right, let me check out the replay.
Hate to be that guy, Tim, but here it is.
All right. Oh, no, that wasn't really knocked down. He kind of pulled me down with his glove.
That first one was more of a balance shot.
Yeah, it was more off balance on that one.
But the second one seemed to be...
Let me see the second one. All right. Oh, wait. Yeah, he caught me good on that one.
It seemed that even when you do everything right with Manny Pacquiao, or most things right, no one's perfect, he has this kind of ability to make it come out wrong for you. Can you explain what you experienced at all?
Nah, he's just very quick, very explosive. You know, it's hard to really judge him. You know, he has quick reflexes, and he has experience, man. So he used his experience against me, his ability, and he won the fight tonight. Congratulations to Manny Pacquiao. Good job.
They're friends.
You've had a long, tough career. You've had some very tough fights. You've told me after the Provodnikov fight, you were slurring your speech for a month. You have a beautiful family. You've made a lot of money. And yet tonight, you probably would have beaten most fighters in the world. Just not Manny Pacquiao. What does this mean for you going forward?
Well, you know, I just got to go back to the drawing board and, you know, we'll talk to my wife and my family and see what's next for me, man. I don't know. If I might continue to fight, I'm not sure, you know. It just all depends. I'm going to take a little break, go back, regroup, and see if I can come back. I still can fight, Max. I still can fight.
We can see that.
I'm in there with a special man, Manny Pacquiao. Good job. Congratulations.
Thanks, Tim, for another excellent fight. Jim?
All right, thanks very much, Max. You know, it's been a tremendous rivalry through these 3 fights, Roy, and I don't doubt for a second that they'll have breakfast tomorrow morning. We spoke earlier in the fight about the fact that they are friends, but they'll remember each other long into antiquity, won't they?
Yes, they will. They'll remember each other, and it almost reminds me of the Great Horse Secretariat and the horse Sham. Sham was also a great horse, but is never great enough to beat the greater horse in Secretariat. It took Sham to push Secretariat to his limits, which it took Bradley to push Pacquiao to his limits tonight to show us that he still has it. But he never could overcome that greater horse.
At the end of the day, was the biggest difference between them that Pacquiao is simply a harder hitter than Tim Bradley?
A harder puncher and a quicker guy. Bradley is learning things that Pacquiao has learned at a very, very young age. Bradley is just learning them, so it's harder to employ him because he's just now learning them.
If this was, in fact, Manny Pacquiao's last fight, how will you remember him?
I will remember him as a guy who took on all comers, one of the most fast, one of the quickest, most fascinating guys that I ever seen in the ring. A crazy rhythm, one of the most outstanding rhythms you'll ever meet.
And by the way, as we turn to Max Kellerman, tonight he became, by the likes of the Transnational Ranking Board, the first fighter in the history of boxing to have won the lineal championship in 5 separate divisions.
Manny Pacquiao is amazing. It's not that he started his career at flyweight. He won his first lineal championship as a flyweight and then stormed through all those divisions, winning legitimate world titles in many or most of them, up to welterweight, and even fought as a junior middleweight. You may never see another fighter like Manny Pacquiao again if this is indeed the end. And of course, I am skeptical, and it occurs to me that so often we lament athletes not retiring in time, on top. You mentioned Derek Jeter and Kobe Bryant earlier in the show, Jim, especially boxers, because it's a hurt business, and these guys can wind up compromised later in life. And yet that kind of performance by Pacquiao, and even to a lesser extent Bradley, has me feeling as though I'm trying to talk them into continuing fighting, you know, in the post-fight interview. That was a good, spirited fight between 2 excellent fighters. One of them is just more special than the other, more gifted, more talented than almost anyone who's ever lived.
Indeed, and he provided us with one last special moment, because coming into the fight, there was every reason to suspect that maybe this was going to be the final embarrassment in a career-ending downhill slide. On paper, coming into tonight, Manny Pacquiao had lost 3 of his last 5 fights. Those 3 losses went with only 3 previous losses in his career, a total of 6. And if he had lost tonight, he would have ended his career, in the view of most, with 4 losses in 6 fights. And of course, one of them was the embarrassing loss to Mayweather the year ago. And there's the distraction of his Senate race. And there was the distraction of the shoulder injury and the need to come back from shoulder surgery at age 37 after more than 60 fights. An almost insurmountable task by all physical logic. But tonight he showed us, one more time, he was still Manny Pacquiao. Thanks very much for being with us on this HBO pay-per-view presentation. It's been a thrill for us all.
But he looks sad.